The names. I recently visited the National Mall with my family, and as we walked along the many memorials, I could not help but be moved by the sheer numbers of men and women who left the safety of America's embrace to fight for freedom. Not just for the freedom of Americans, but for the freedom of people both known and unknown to them in places they had never heard of. When I got to the Vietnam Memorial, known as the Wall to those of us that care enough to acknowledge our history, it hit me. As I walked along at a steady pace explaining the level of sacrifice made by American families in the fight against evil, I quickly glanced at the names. At one point, a familiar name stood out to me, and I stopped for a brief moment. Jack McClure. I touched the name and ran my fingers along the letters, not knowing if the person had any relation to my brother Shawn or not. Secretly, I had hoped so. We quickly moved on, and then I couldn't help but recognize more and more names. Cookingham, Kimbrough, Miller. The names just kept appearing, and then I thought, there is not likely to be a name on the wall that would be unfamiliar to most Americans. It spoke to me. The wall spoke to me and told the story of so many families whose legacies are sewn into the fabric of this great nation's history, and the histories of their buddies who returned alive. It is a debt that can never be repaid. I remember admiring the veterans of Vietnam as a young boy, perhaps because I grew up hearing that my oldest brother had served in Vietnam. Once I became a soldier myself, I still admired them, realizing they had combat experience and would be the ones to teach me how to stay alive in the thick wooded environments I would surely find myself in, or so I thought. As a nation, we owe so much to these brave few, who both willingly and unwillingly answered the nation's call to fight an enemy most would never see, for an objective most would never understand, for the freedoms of people most would never know. May we never forget the cost of freedom, and may we always welcome our warriors home with open arms.